Hey, hotties, we have way more for you over on the Hot Young Designers Club blog.
It's kind of like having an internet home base that we've been wanting to start.
Yeah, we're over there doing designer features, sharing industry news, and some business updates.
We've always wanted to be able to share our inspirations, so we needed a long form place to do it, and now we have it.
You got it. So head to hotyoungdesignersclub.com and check out the blog. Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
I'm Rebecca Plum, your big sister.
And I'm Shaun Surha, your GBF.
We're not that hot or that young,
but we believe it's a state of mind that helps us build adaptable and profitable businesses.
We rely on the support of our design besties to get through each day.
So let's explore the emotional, practical, and humorous sides of being interior designers.
Welcome to the club.
Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
We have a great guest today. Welcome, Nicole White.
Hey.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi, we're so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm clearly very hot, very young, so clearly belong, feel right at home. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
We're always trying ourselves. So tell us a little bit about yourself, if you can just kind of give your story quickly, how you got here. Not too quick. Take your time.
Right. Listen, I just turned 50 this year, so that's a whole lot of story to tell. So I've been a designer this is my 14th year, so I'm quite a veteran, I guess, in the game, so to speak. As I sort of mentioned to you guys, before design, I was a journalist. I was a reporter, a print reporter for years for the Village Voice, for the Miami Herald. So my start is in journalism and storytelling. And so for me as a designer, I use design. I tell stories when I design. And so I lean into that part of my life and the editing side of journalism to edit my projects well. So I talk about that a lot, so I do also mentor a lot of young designers, and I tell them to lean into their other skills, right? A lot of us come from other crafts and other backgrounds. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't be like, well, I was an accountant. Well, your budget should be always on point.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't have any budget problems. You should know your profit margins. You should be killing the financial part of the design business, which is the true business, right? So for me, I design as a storyteller because that was my training initially. So 14 years in the game, background as a journalist. I am in South Florida. I'm Jamaican born and raised. I left Jamaica when I was 18 and went to New York for school, and then got recruited to Miami by the Miami Herald back then. So design is my second career, and I'm not trained as a designer. I'm all talent and self-taught behavior. So I've sort of built this business and reputation just on sheer grit and tenacity and starting, I started out designing when there was no Instagram. There was nobody to call. Like, you want to be a designer, you didn't go to design school, good luck. So I read a lot of books at Barnes and Noble.
Anything you could get your hands on, probably.
Anything, and I still have some of them. I bought everything on how to do this, how to price, which, by the way, remains the biggest mystery, right? There's no clear. It's like, even back then, it was like, you could do these 50 ways. So the pricing, the client behavior, like all of that over the years, I have sort of had to teach myself through trial and error. But listen, it's made me the designer I am today, who's now accessible to the Instagram world. So I laugh with younger designers now. I said, you can just you can just DM a designer. That's what Abby said. Abby just DMs me, right? Yeah. You could not do that 14 years ago. And you couldn't who were you going to call and say, I need help, or how do I price this, or how do I handle this difficult client? And now in this era, it's easy. A lot of us call on each other all the time now.
Do you think that's shifted, though, culturally as well, where designers weren't willing to help each other previously?
Yes, I think back then there was, design is a very sort of, dare I say, elitist world. There was there's a lot of that behavior still, which it's just hilarious to me. Like, girl, like,
get over yourself.
Get over yourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so I experienced a lot of that in the, when I started. Like, you could not speak to certain people. They were just not. First of all, I'm not trained. I didn't go to school with them, so it was just like, who are you? And I did go through a period in my career where I had huge like insecurities. Like, I wouldn't even like speak up in the room because I knew I didn't go to design school, and how dare I be in this space. So I went through a lot of that in the beginning, and have talked about this publicly. I mean, up to a couple of years ago, I went to, and tell me if I'm you could, I'm just going.
We want you to keep going.
No,
Okay.
keep going.
But I went through, so right now things have changed for the better, where you can now reach out to designers like me and get an answer. Not all the time, we're still busy, but it's not, I don't have the same, because I know what I went through, where I couldn't even ask for help, or no one would take me seriously in the beginning. I am very mindful of that. And so I do give back to a lot, sometimes too much, right? I had an assistant who was like, listen, girl, we're not running a charity. You can't spend all day talking to these new designers, like telling them the sauce. So because of that, I did pivot and started offering like a 2-hour, you have to pay me for 2 hours to deep dive into, 2 hours to look at your business, give you some tips, because it was taking up too much time. And so we did monetize that briefly. And then I had to pause it because I'm swamped. And so
it's too many.
It's too many. And so we're working on like a proper course now, because 2 hours per person, let's just do one big thing.
Yeah. So that's other business.
It's a whole other business. I'm working on that because, again, I have the knowledge. So, but back to Rebecca's point, like, I went through a lot of that, like not being, and to the point where a couple of years ago, and I talked about this recently, we won Sub-Zero's regional, we're one of the Sub-Zero's regional kitchen winners, right? Kitchen design winners. It was a big deal. But years ago, when I went to my first Sub-Zero event, like, they fly you out. They flew us out to the factories and the tours. And typically in those tours, I'm the only Black person, right? That's still happening, which is wild. I was one of a few on that tour. And on the bus ride to one of the events, we're all getting to know each other, and we're all talking, and I'm telling, just like I'm telling you, that I did not go to design school. And the designer literally turned around and said, well, why are you here on this tour?
What?
Ma'am, don't make us pull this bus over right now.
It was a moment. And so there's another designer who I befriended, like we became very close, and we're super close now. And she was like, who are you speaking to? So it was very hurtful at the time. And so I was still at that cusp in my career where, like, I wasn't the Nicole who is pretty loud and in your face right now, right? I was still in that sort of insecure phase of, did I really belong should I really be here, right? And so when she said that, so matter-of-factly, I had to like pull back and then answer her and said, I'm here because I'm here. But the irony was that the speaker at the event we were going to was Mick DiGiulio, who is one of my big kitchen inspiration as a designer. And he was the keynote speaker at the event. And he did not go to design school. And he's designed like all of Sub-Zero's kitchens, right?
Oh.
So when he said that, me and my new design bestie looked at homegirl like,
and now what?
Are you gonna
really quiet now? Like,
are you gonna ask Mick why he's here? Like, he's just designed the entire Sub-Zero showroom, all their kitchens, and he's the keynote speaker, and he did not go to design school. So I say all that to say, do I wish I had gone to design school? Obviously, in hindsight, I wish I had known about design school. I didn't even know, as a Jamaican girl, I didn't know any designers. I didn't know that path until I came to America. But do not shame people for their journey. Their journey is their journey. And so the audacity to say that, just matter of fact, it was incredible. But it happens. But it was just like, you would not have said that to Mick if he were sitting next to you on the bus.
Right.
So because I am this Black woman designer who's not trained, you could literally say that. It was disrespectful. And so I laugh about it now. And when I got my award earlier this year, I was like, thank you, honey, very much here on the bus.
Yes.
and living a great life and I just did a second Sub-Zero tour. So we're good over here.
Yeah, and you belong here. Like we all belong here. Yeah.
We all belong here. And why would I be invited if my work did not speak for itself?
Right.
So again, I say, stay in your lane. Do you? I don't begrudge anyone anything. Yes, I did not go to design school, but I have taught myself, and I've absorbed and learned and fallen down and brushed myself off and picked back up to build my business. I have a staff. I'm paying people. I'm providing livelihoods, right?
Yeah.
My son only knows me as a designer. He was born seeing his mother. He has no idea about the journalism world, right?
Oh, that's
Right.
fascinating.
So that's a generational wealth building, right? I'm changing entire generational history here by being a business owner, right? In my family.
Yes.
That's groundbreaking. I have built a firm from zero, no investors, no inheritance. I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
No network, probably. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's like a
Nothing.
huge asset that people don't claim. Like, if you have a network of wealthy people in your neighborhood that you already know, you're way ahead.
Yes.
Exactly. I had none of that. None, zero. So I'm starting from zero. And so just let me be. And I've done it. And I've done it without stepping on anyone's toes or having to belittle and disrespect anyone.
Questioning
So
their
I've never
right
had to
be
question, like, I have just done Nicole, right? Respectfully. I have asked, anytime there was a friendly room in the face in the room, I leaned into those friendships. And I talk a lot when I do speaking engagements that a part of my business has been built by I don't treat clients, I don't treat relationships as one night stands, right? I'm a big believer in the relationship. So I will never finish a project and just be like, peace out. We have clients repeat business because I'm calling a client, how is your baby? How is this? How is the dog? And so the same way in the design community, I don't respond well to anyone who just calls me when they need something. You have to build a relationship with me because I do not call you when I need something. My superpower among many, I think I have, is the relationship building. Again, as a reporter, you got your stories by having your sources, right?
Right.
And milking those sources for information and maintaining the relationships. So
yeah, and they should you want them to think of you when they're like, oh, you know who needs to hear it? Like Nicole needs to hear this. Like she is gonna want to do something with this, or she needs to know. But that's because I built the relationship. So the same thing with other designers who are at my level, who are junior to me or senior to me. We are in touch. I'm not just calling, girl, I don't know how to price a project. No, I saw that your mother died and I called you and said, how are you doing? Right? Yeah.
So that is how I want this design community to grow. Keep in mind, I'm coming from the era of knowing social media. Now here with social media, we're accessible. Do not abuse that access. That is the issue, right? Do not abuse it. Nurture it. Use it wisely. Check on your strong design friends and your not so strong design friends. We all have different needs. And so when I see designers who only DM me for, where'd you get that wallpaper? Where'd you stop right there?
Yes.
Do we have a relationship?
Yeah, this isn't a transaction.
Like, and I'm willing to guide you, but if I see you only coming to me all the time, first of all, let's get into that other part of a lot of what I see with social media has been incredible. Yes, I started my business from scratch and I toiled many painful nights, right? Doing mood boards the old-fashioned way, right? And so what I see now on social media is there are people who will email you and DM you all day long asking you questions because they don't know, and they're purportedly designers and they're purportedly running a business, but they're not ready. And so I have been very concerned about that, like because of Instagram and TikTok, and you could just post, one project and spin it 10 ways. I've seen people who I know don't know what they're doing because they're asking me my DMs all day. what to do, but yet they're advertising as a renowned kitchen or whatever bathroom designer.
We're a world-class, international design firm. And you're like, hold on a minute.
Hold on. You just call me and ask me what is marble versus porcelain? Like, so that's what I'm saying. So we need to really be careful in the industry. We need to make sure. All I'm saying is, when you don't know something as a young designer in the business, it is okay to ask for a mentor, to build a mentoring relationship with someone who is senior to guide you. Or you may not be ready to start your own firm yet. You may need to work for somebody else for a time to get your stripes in there, right? I just don't want to see recklessness in the business where you don't know what you're doing.
I guess that's my question is like, I totally agree with you, by the way, but what is the difference, do you think, between what you're saying versus the snobby designer who looked down on her nose at you not going to design school? Because there is a difference
in approach.
I'm just trying to. Well, no, I mean approach obviously, but I guess like those designers on TikTok, they are scrappy. They're just faking it till they make it. But I guess maybe they're just faking it too hard. Because
So I don't think the difference is this. I'm not disparaging anyone from starting a business and doing it, but you should know what you're doing. You should again have a mentor who is helping you and giving you a lot of help on the back end. So that's what I'm saying. In my time,
I guess there's different ways of being educated, and you have to get educated. So whether it's like in
the
projects
field?
are being mentored, mentored, asking a lot of questions, finding somebody who's willing to help you. And by the way, you're very generous. Like a lot of designers aren't going to help as much as you're willing to.
I have been accused of being too generous, and that's what I'm saying.
Which is amazing.
So the difference is the designers who were not approachable back in the day, they just felt it was a closed gate. Like, why should we let anyone in? And I'm saying, open this up to the world. Do you build your business? But I'm saying, I'm cautioning, as someone who mentors and guides younger designers, get someone on your side, ask for help, right?
Yeah.
So you're not faking it, right? Get into a meaningful relationship with a fellow designer whose work you respect, and ask for guidance. And then you're gonna, if you're talented in this business, you can't hold you back, right?
Yeah.
But I will always be absolutely available, just not as much as I used to be. I mean,
maybe you need a podcast.
So listen, I have, as a journalist, everyone assumed I would have a podcast by now, and it's come up 1,000 times, and I'm just like, first of all, podcast is a full-time job. I don't know how y'all run design firms and do this podcast, right?
It's just the short version of it is it's tough, but
it's very tough. And I know other designers who podcast, and the burnout is brutal. So I do think I need to use my journalism skills more for obvious reasons, but I have a teenager now. And so I'm an official Uber driver. Like, that's what my life is. I'm running a firm, and then I'm running my son to 50 basketball practices. I just don't know. I like sleep. I like
have a life.
I'm dating, I'm single, I'm in the streets, I'm traveling.
Yeah.
I don't know when. Like, when would I have time to set up equipment and have guests and look at all this fancy microphones and stuff you guys have to invest in.
Forget the podcast. You don't want to do that. We wouldn't wish it on anybody. No, I think it could be something in a few years that
I'm not ruling it out. As my business, I'm getting my business to a certain point where I don't have to be here so much. Like, you get the right team in, I can sort of pop in and out like I want to. You never know, but I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
it is.
It's a whole, again, like, mentoring and coaching is a whole other thing, a whole other business,
Yes.
and so is this. Wait,
Exactly.
and you mentioned your team. What does it look like right now? Like,
So listen, growing a business has been one of the hardest things. Right now, we are at 3 people. So I have 2 designers and an assistant. And my assistant, unfortunately, is relocating. So she's leaving. And so it's just, it was a bitter pill, right? Because it takes such a long time to get a team together.
Yeah.
And we're all pretty new here, like a year or 2 in. And so as a business owner, I will tell you and all your listeners that has been my biggest Achilles heel in this business is longevity. It's just like doesn't exist. And it's very hard as the principal to keep starting over. And so I don't know. I know other designers right now who are at my level, how many years in the game. I know one particular designer who's, when her last person left, she stopped hiring. She was like, I'm done. Like, it's just her and an assistant, like because it's the training, and
it could be really disheartening to go through
it's
all
really
that.
very disheartening to go through that every 2 or 3 years, and you're just, that's HR and payroll and new email and all the
and personalities, like the HR of it all, and just getting people to mix together. That's a whole. That takes so much time too.
It's a full-time job. And listen, remember, I was telling someone this the other day, a lot of us are designers. We're accidental bosses, right? We just wanted to design, and boom, now there's a whole business. Like, what? HR? Oh, I should not say this.
Yeah. Performance reviews? Like,
who wants to do that? PTOs? Sick days? So
like,
so
I want to get the call, like, I'm sick today, I can't come in, like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like,
I want to call in sick and I can't, right? And so that's the thing. Like, we didn't get into this. Most of us didn't get into run a business. We got in, we were just designing our beautiful hearts out. And the next thing we know, there's an office to pay rent for. And we had to hire, and then you hire because the needs grow. But in our hearts, most of us don't enjoy. I will be very honest. I do not enjoy being a boss.
That's totally fair. I'm glad you said it.
I mean, thank you for saying that, because I hear a lot of designers that have teams and they're like, oh, we just hired another person. We just hired someone. Oh, we have
like
2
20
more people
in, and you're like, oh my God.
I can't get one person that I want here all the time.
No. And I am in like 2 different design cohorts. Like, we meet monthly, or because we're all having we're all principals, we're all owners, and we all have the same turnover problems, right? And I don't like meetings. Like, having staff meetings was like the biggest pain for me. I had a designer who was with me for a while, and she just moved back home to Antigua. She was my operations and designer. So she was a hybrid, and she was a beast. She was a lawyer before, so she loved that world. So I made her run all girl, you have these meetings, right? Because I just feel like I got other things to do. But she would say to me, Nicole, the team needs meetings. Like, we need to know what we should be doing for the week. We need to have, we need the bonding. We need, like, she was the reason I just, I came from corporate in the journalism world, right? And I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want the news meetings. I didn't want all these structured things, but she had to remind me that those things matter to new designers. Like, it's important for them to have some structure. So I had to really embrace that, because I was fighting it. I would be skipping town for these meetings. Right? I didn't want to meet. What are we meeting for? We have the design plan. Everybody can see it in the portals. Like, just go forth and
just go. Yeah.
Just go. Because in my old mind, everyone was Nicole. And I had to remember, no, first of all, do not hire anyone who's like you. Number 1 rule.
Please.
Do not look for for yourself when you hire. You look for people with things, who love doing things that you don't want to do. And so that's what I'm saying. In that hire, she loved that, operations and structure. Perfect. You can have it all. But
have at it, sure.
Have at it. But it was a reminder to me that the team needs meetings. We need to go over things. And you know what was so funny? That something as simple as acknowledging birthdays in the office and acknowledging their start dates, their anniversaries mattered. For me, it was just like, I didn't care about that stuff when I was in corporate. Don't acknowledge me corporately, please. But
I think it's the Gen X in us. We're like used to not being celebrated or people paying attention to it. We just come home after school and feed yourself. Like,
we let ourselves in the house. We fed ourselves. We put ourselves to bed.
Drank out of the hose. Yep.
And so when I learned that mattered, I was like, oh my God. So now those things are on the calendar to celebrate all those things that matter. And so, yes, being a boss, I will say, I'm a naturally bossy person, but
the management side is different.
But the management side, I want you to come in. We discuss the creative vision. So my ultimate goal for this firm is I just want to be the creative director, right? I want to come in and just set the landscape weekly for here's where we want to go visually with each client. And then I'm out. Assign it to a senior, assign it to a junior and assistants and procurement. And then I'll come back in to check on it. But all I want to do is give you should know by now if you work for me, how I think and how I design. But I will be here I'll always start you off. Like I'll give you, this is what's in my head. And I'll set it up on the presentations and take it from me and run with it. And then I'll come back and edit. That's my goal. Like I've been doing this for too long to be in the office every day. Like I don't want that. Like that is not fun for me at this stage. There's too many other things I'm doing. And I'm raising a child. I have an art collection with Left Bank. I'm working on a book. I do travel influencing now. I have brand influencer deals. So I want this firm to be a lifestyle firm where there's a head, there's Nicole, and there's the visual and the brand, but I should not have to be here 9 to 5. And I'm always shocked when I hear other designers saying, one of the design groups I'm in, one of the designers said she felt so guilty if her team got to the office before her. And I was like, girl.
I would never. I'd be like, I'm so glad you're here already working because I'm having my morning. Like, bye.
But that's a lot of women, though. I don't know, Rebecca. Like, that's a thing where we feel like if we're not in the building, we're not leading. And I you have to leave that mindset behind. And I have new team folks here, and I said, listen, I am not going to be here at 9 o'clock. If I'm here at 9 o'clock, it's because it's not the norm. I should not expect should not need me in the building to get the job done. Yeah, we have the weekly meetings where we map out everything from the start. So it's all
I'm already giving you the meetings. Like, what else do you want from me?
The meetings tell you everything, and it's all lined up and But I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't need to be here to tell you what to do. And so every time I hear a designer say they feel guilty or that they feel like they should be the first in and the last out the door, that's insane to me. You're the owner. I did not get into business to work 9 to 5 because we already work harder than anybody else. We're always on as owners, right? As the principals. There's going to be a Saturday or a Sunday where I'm doing something business related. I'm at a networking event, or I am just, setting up the agenda for the meeting or whatever on my own, because I'm the owner. So you should know that I'm always working without seeing me in the building. And you shouldn't need to see the boss to do the work. That's a problem.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I think that's like a cultural tone you can set in your office and be clear. I feel that in like guilt a little bit of like, oh, I shouldn't make the assistant take the trash out if I'm not willing to take it out. But I'm like, what the hell? Like, I
do take the trash out.
Someone to take the trash out.
No, we don't have that's funny you said that, because we have a cleaning team. They come once a week. So who's taking out the trash all week? So we just everybody takes a day, including the boss. I don't.
Sure.
I'm not saying I'm above it, but there's just, piles of cardboard and stuff. Like, I don't know. I always feel like I shouldn't make anyone else do it. But
No, everyone should do it, or I'm paying somebody to do it for sure. So yeah, definitely. I'm not trying. And I will tell you, that was the other thing I learned from the other designer. She said, I used to be like, oh, I'm coming, I'm running, I'll be there in an hour. And she's like, we don't need to know. Like, we don't need to know. We expect you to not babysit us. Like, you don't have to check in and panic that we're not seeing you. There are adults here, and we have to learn to work without seeing you.
And if like we need you, then we'll call you, and and we'll find out like, hey, are you going to be here? There's something that urgently needs your attention. Like,
well,
great. Otherwise,
I do
let me
calendar.
be. Like,
we do. It's on the calendar. Like, it's on. Look at the calendar, my schedule. I put everything on the calendar, by the way. I put my nail appointments. I had a therapist for years. She was on the calendar, so you would not be calling me when I'm talking to my damn therapist, right? So I had to put all those things on there, like my son's everything for every school closure. Those things are all there, so you know, as a team, you cannot be trying to reach me. I'm at my son's graduation, and so respectfully, figure it out until after I'm out of this event, because I had to do that, and I had to also separate myself. So I finally got my personal phone this year. This is a huge decision, because the entire time for this business, I had NWD's cell phone was Nicole White's life, and it was not good. And I felt so guilty for like, how can I separate? I am the brand. But it's so important to me to give that up. So when we leave at 5, that phone is turned off. And it's very awesome. It's changed my life to not see those client texts.
Yeah, the notifications of it all. Yeah.
Even though you would turn it off, you would still check. You check. Of course. You, as human beings, you would see that nasty email from the client or the nasty text.
Oh, yeah.
It would ruin your whole night.
I've had vacations ruined because of that.
And I don't have that anymore because the phone is not with me, or it's off. So that has been a big game changer for me this year. Like, I have a separate line. Right.
And it's like a really hard boundary you can explain to clients, like, hey, you can text me all night. I'm not going to see it until Monday
we're not going to see it, and we're not answering it over the weekend. There's nothing we do that's an emergency. And I learned this from Erica Ward at Erica Ward Interiors. She taught me years ago, listen, we are not surgeons. There is no emergency that a client could have that we need to be there. If it's a 911 call, they call 911 and they tell us about it on Monday. And
don't get me involved.
Don't get me involved. There's nothing.
Because the real emergency stuff would be something like a big beam fell in the house. It's like, well, call the contractor. I don't need to know about it. Like,
if you had a plumbing problem, call the plumber. Yeah, and then I will hear about it. I will see how it affected the rug. We'll
figure that out later.
Right, but I'm not the plumber. I'm not the electrician. I'm not the GC, and so a lot of us as business owners, we take it all on. And yes, I do refer a lot of these people, and I get it, right? We do project manage a lot for some of our jobs, but I've had to train clients this year that we're closed. We're closed. And it says so in our email, in our tagline, in our tags, in our signatures. This is the office hours. We also take 48 hours to respond. So that was a big thing I did years ago, because everybody wants an answer immediately, and we had to pay. Like, you have to wait. You cannot. If we answered emails all day long, we would get nothing done. This is impossible.
That's a full-time job again.
A full-time job. So we had to put in our signature, give us 48 hours, because we need to get the answer. We're not just going to say, hey, what you're asking me, I have to get to a vendor, it's not a simple thing. And so we have to set, in this business, when you're running your business, for anyone who is new, you have to set clear boundaries with clients, clear boundaries with your vendors, etc., so they understand and respect how you run your business. This is a business. It is not it's not a charity, and it's not a fun venture. And so I have had to train clients. I've had to train a lot of the contractors and the trades who are usually men who are not at home, primarily dealing with kids and whatever. And I said very carefully, primarily. And so there was a lot of disrespect with that, where I would have men in the business demand to have a meeting at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Oh, Nicole, we should all meet at the client's house. I have to put my son to bed. Like, no.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of that pushback over the years. Like, I'm a woman-run firm, and I'm a single woman. And so you're not going to interrupt my homework time or my mom time with my son after hours. So I'm not meeting you on a Saturday at 10 o'clock because I'm going to be at his game. So talk to me at between 9 to 5.
Yeah, I can't get anywhere before 9 a.m. Like, I have to drop a kid off at school.
And do not call me before I have the coffee either. I will not speak to anyone until I
will ignore every call, text, email, like, nothing is that urgent that's going to stop me from having at least that peace. The one time I can get the peace.
Not only that. So now my schedule is very clear. I work out in the mornings. So first of all, the office opens at 9. And if you want somebody in the office, somebody else will answer. Or we have all these group chats with the trades. But I do not speak to anyone while I'm working out. That is my sacred 1 hour. So I'm not answering a thing at all. So I'm going to work out. I'm going to go home and shower, take my son to school, get my coffee, and then I will engage the world. And I think it's very important for us, not because you're running a small business means you should be disrespected with your boundaries and your time. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of us who are you're scrambling to please the client all day. No.
Yes.
You have to train the client how your firm runs. And so respectfully,
we have to train
available.
Ourselves first.
First. Yes. Yeah. And that took me years, obviously. When you're new and you're trying to get every client, I get it, right? Well, once you've established yourself and have set up yourself a certain way, you could draw the line and say, I'm not available right now. And don't feel any way. And clients are going to do it. They're going to message you at 7 p.m. Oh, I just have one question, which really means 10.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be on the phone till 8 o'clock with the client. And then you're going to miss your son's or your daughter's thing. And so do not open the door unless you want somebody to come all the way in. I'm telling you all the time. I do not talk to clients after hours anymore. It has to be a client who I've had for the 14 years who could. And with this personal line too, it's been interesting because they all know I have a personal line. And so they're
they
like,
want it.
Oh, I haven't gotten it. And
maybe think about that.
You haven't.
Yeah.
Hey, designers. In our jobs, we wear a lot of hats, but there is a big difference between having ideas and then the reality of actually putting these ideas into practice.
Yeah, totally. That's why when we developed the tools that worked for our businesses, we wanted to share them with other designers so they could grow too.
And since we're all busy, we made sure everything was ready to use to save you time.
And our templates include expertly crafted copy that can get you started when you're trying to write the right words for all your clients.
Yeah, so we didn't write your bio because we can't, but things that are process-oriented, we have all that written out for you.
Right. And we wanted to keep everything in a price point that's very accessible to designers of all levels because we really believe that everybody should be able to afford to streamline their business and make it better.
So if you're a first-time visitor, you get 10% off on our shop at shop.hotyoungdesignersclub.com.
I feel like it's that like almost like getting whipped up is like how a lot of designers, I'm watching how they're living their life and I'm staring and I'm watching or they're telling me stuff and I'm like, why are you letting yourself get bounced like a ping pong ball all over town and you get to the end of the day and you've done nothing that you wanted to get done or you didn't achieve any of the stuff you set out to because it went from call to text to job site to whatever all day long. And I do feel like there's part of that is that there's like a pressure piece of it and a people pleasing aspect of it. And then the reality is you have to really want to change that. That if we say we don't like that and we're frustrated that happens to us, you have to do something like you've done, which is like very proactively make steps and actions that are going to change that. And it does mean at some point you have to speak up and advocate for yourself to say to a contractor, to say to a client, and hold the boundary. And some, people are going to test boundaries. Like, it's just the way we are. Kids do it. We do it as adults. Everybody does it. Like,
It
it's
is,
going to happen.
But what you said was key. A lot of us in this design business are people pleasers. That is a huge problem for a lot of us. And I hear this all the time. So we are naturally geared to not saying no. Like, we want to help and we have to do it. And so we drive ourselves crazy because, again, we forget that we're running a business. It's a business. And so every business has official open, has store hours, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You cannot go to wherever after they close. You can't.
Yeah, I can't walk into Anthropologie at 12:30 in the morning or something.
You can't. And so when I mentor younger designers, I say, listen, I get it. I know what it's like in the beginning where every client check matters, right? I went through those years where I remember, like, you need that money. Like, if you don't get that check, you couldn't pay your mortgage. That one client check, right? I remember in the days, I remember a client owed me money. It was probably like $5,000. And if I did not get that $5,000, I could not pay my mortgage. So I know what it's like. So you're going to try to please and bend over backwards and answer their calls and put up with their abusive behavior because you need that $5,000 check, right? But I'm saying to you, if you do not draw the line eventually, then it's very hard to do it once it's too far gone. So you have to teach yourself as you grow in your business, as you've built up a cushion of savings and you can afford to not put up with certain clients and their disrespect, then you could start setting the boundaries. I just changed, I got a new phone and we set the office hours. And when we onboard clients, by the way, we go over that. We communicate with you by email only. We will have a group chat with you if there's a very active job site and we want to get to you quickly to let someone in. We will have that and we will call you. But the clients abuse it. And the minute they start abusing those chats, I shut it down. I warned you, the chat was here just to tell me to get into the house or not to gripe, not to send me a whole design change. Because legally, I want everything in email.
Yes.
Right. So you have to train your clients. And I will say to clients, and if clients call us with something, I train the team. You go reiterate that conversation in an email because they will deny anything was said.
Yeah. That's not what we said. That's not how we said it. Or
all the time. I've seen
memories are so bad.
So bad. And so
even if it's not malicious, people don't remember exactly. Yeah.
So put it in writing, and then the writing is email. I also done a part of my boundary thing is I don't respond to clients or anyone who does not have a salutation. Like, you cannot just text me at 7 a.m. saying, where is this? I'm going to be like, good morning. And I'm going to wait for the good morning back. And that's been a big thing. Like,
I love that.
Nicole, no one is like that. And I said, I will never not be respectful. And so I'm going to hold on to that little piece of humanity where you tell me good morning. You don't just start my morning by demanding the world from me. Like, this is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I would never do that to you. If I'm reaching out to a client, I'm going to say good morning. Hey, how are you? Whatever. And I don't need a whole thesis. I'm just saying the Jamaican in me is going to stand on this respect thing. You're going to say good morning. And until you say good morning, I'm not responding. And that has been interesting, the pushback. And I'm just like, it's so simple. Just say good morning.
Just be polite. Yeah.
Just be polite. Just hold the door. Say yes, thank you, whatever. I'm standing on that 10 toes deep in business forever until I leave.
I mean, we lose sight of that humanity, that like basic human interaction and compassion skill that just shows we respect each other. Like,
and listen, a bunch of us on social media have this. I know Carmion talks about this all the time.
Shavonda talks about it too.
And I am in that same group. You're not going to just DM me or in my comments demand, where is this from? This is wild.
Yeah. Or do you do this? What do you do for that? And they're asking straight up, they want the resources.
They want the resources. And I'm just like, who are you talking to? Like, I'm just going to ignore you. And they will literally come for you in DMs. I asked you on this thing, and I will be like, who are you speaking to? Do you pay me? Did you pay me? So if you came respectfully and said, hey, good morning, Nicole, or hey, do you mind sharing where you got that from? You are not entitled to anything on this platform at all.
Right.
This social media world has just turned people into absolute, like, the disrespect. So I am, as I said, I turned 50 this year. It's a big number, right? Remember, I'm still hot and young, so you wouldn't know that, right?
I'm there next year. I have one more year.
But it's a beautiful time. And all I'm saying is there's certain things I'm going to hold on to. And if asking you to say please and thank you and good morning is so wild, then you got bigger problems in life.
Exactly that.
Yep.
It's a sign that you have another problem, and this is just a symptom of that issue coming up somewhere else in your life. And
so
we owe each other that basic.
We owe each other that basic. I'm not giving that up. So clients, vendors, anyone who interacts with me knows that position, publicly, privately. Just be kind and respectful. Like, you don't know what that little thing, that little greeting could change. All of us are going through things. Like, people, you're going through divorces or breakups, or you're fighting with your ex, or you're co-parenting drama. You don't know what somebody else is going through. And so for you to just be rude unnecessarily is wild to me. So I'm never going to accept that as a human being. And it's never going to be acceptable in how I run my business.
Yeah, and it's because we have so much access to people that we never did before. But it is kind of weird that not only do we have this access, but we also just want to kick the door in and ask in the most rude, abrupt way. Like,
bam, where's the wallpaper?
Yeah, like the door is open, but you just like scream at someone when you walk in. Like, it's so
rude. This is what the door analogy is key, right? Social media, your social media feed is your home. It's literally your home.
Yeah.
And you're going to respect me in my home, or you could leave. And you don't have to announce that you're leaving, by the way. Just go.
No.
This big announcements, like, girl, bye. Sir, you don't like it over here.
Okay. Yeah.
Just miss me with that. So I look at that. I look at my feed as my home, and my followers and I talk to followers all day long when I have the time, right? And I will, and I have posted to them to say, listen, though, if you really need something, first of all, there's so many DMs, right? I try, but this is not my job. If I don't respond to you and you get an attitude about it, then you have a bigger problem. Again.
Yes.
And number two, if you really want to get to this firm, if you really need Nicole or an answer from NWD, you should pick up the phone or go on the freaking internet and email the office. This idea, by the way, that DMs are like the
like real.
It's wild to me. Like, you sitting there being mad at, I've gotten the DMs like, this is my third DM to you, and I said it's about to be your fourth, because why would you want something from this firm and not even occur to you, there is a whole website, there's a whole phone number in my bio, there's all these other things that if you
got
really
a Google listing you can find, I got everything. Like,
why would you be over here getting salty about an unanswered DM? This is insane to me.
I know. And I do feel guilty sometimes. I realize, like, oh my God, somebody DM'd me with a lead request weeks ago, and I feel bad about it. But I'm like, no, this DMs are just a river that are rushing by me. If I happen to catch your fish and reply to it, great, you're lucky. But otherwise,
not only that, there's some, the whole Instagram, there's a lot of suppression in Instagram, right? So there are times where I don't see any comments or any DMs. And then, and if I delete the app and redo it, then I see, the other day I found DMs from 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And I reposted them saying, hey, if you're salty that I didn't respond to this 10 years ago, boy, so sorry.
It's just too easy to get upset about something that is also such a very small part of a really big picture of our lives and of our days. And if something was really important to someone that they're like, I really love Nicole and I want to work with her, then why not just go that one extra step to end up at the website? Like,
so listen,
the real people will be there.
It's never the potential clients who are salty though, because if the clients want you, they're going to find you the right way. It's always the person who wants to know what paint color, what is the nail polish color, Nicole? Literally, this would be the thing. It would be like, where did you get that dress? Where did you get these earrings? Where? I need to know. It's never somebody who's going to put money in my pockets.
Right.
Right. And respect you.
That's why I'm unbothered. It's never a client. It's never someone who wants to work with the firm. They're gonna go to the website, they're gonna go to the channels and come here. But it's always the ones who want something for free. And I'm not that girl.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about what you just said with your fashion, because you do share a lot of fashion and you're always looking good. You're so stylish. How does that like impact your work, would you say? Or how do you see fashion and your design tying together?
So it's funny, like I'm naturally, like, I love fashion and it's part of my thing, and I design not only as a journalist, but also with fashion in mind, right? But it's funny that I don't pay attention to, I have a good friend who stalks all the fashion bloggers, right? I cannot tell you the last time I went to a fashion bloggers thing. What's trending. I just do me. And invariably, it's usually like I shop for timeless things. And obviously there's going to be some trend things, but I don't pay attention to, like, I saw, like, I think like denim on denim is wild right now. Well, I've always worn denim on denim. And so
right.
That's my thing. Like, it's just a natural part of my persona, getting dressed up and accessorizing. When you see me dressed, that's how I design. It's going to be layers and layers of drama. But I got to be comfortable. Now I wear sneakers all the time. I have 50 different shades of New Balance or Pumas, or I wear sneakers with everything. And so I'm at a point in my life where I can be comfortable and I can go to client meetings as myself. And that's very important to me to say in this design world, by the way, that part of owning my own business was very important. And it's a good message for others to understand that, to show up as yourself. I can go to client meetings now, as I said, and set the time, set the boundaries, set the meeting time, set my work schedule, make it be clear. I can go to meetings as a Black woman fully represented. When I was in corporate, would I have worn these locks? I would struggle. How can I go to this meeting? What can my hair look like? If I had in braids, are they going to invite me to that particular meeting? And now I've got clients who've called me for consultation, and I've gone to consultations with my head wrap or a scarf. Like, that's who I am. And you obviously know who I am when you called me. So I don't have to walk into the room in any other way as a business owner, right? So that's been important to me. Even my team, I have designers here who have tattoos, and they were afraid to show them. I'm like, I don't care. Like,
that was such a thing, I think, in our like youth too.
Yes, right? Yes, that you could not be yourself. And so as creatives,
you had to hide all of it. Yeah.
You had to change your hair, hide your tats, whatever.
Even earrings couldn't be a certain size, and like weird stuff, or nails. Nails was a big deal for like only natural colors for things. You're like, right. Oh God.
And so I'm here to not have that. This is a creative.
Yeah.
Do you think Instagram's helped you with that? Like, put your self-expression out there as part of your brand identity? Or do you think it just...
I'm big on that. My Instagram is a big, it's design, it's fashion, it's my travels, my son, it's my dog. And we've been debating it in the office. Is it too much? Should we just have, and I did a whole poll the other day, should we separate the design work only from Nicole's life? And the poll said
no, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think you do such a good job. So I feel like I know you from your Instagram and
that's how new clients feel. I have a lot of clients who we have clients all over the country now. And when we get hired, for those who are not local, they say, I felt like I knew you. I knew you drink your coffee. I know you got to pick up Xavier.
Yeah.
And so I won't separate it. That's the decision. It's the totality of,
It sounds liberating.
It's liberating, and it's liberating for me to show other women that it's okay to show up as yourself,
person,
and be a whole person, and to show, 2 years ago, a little girl in Ohio for Black History Month, she was in elementary school. I was her Black History moment. And it was the wildest, incredible thing to me that her teacher reached out to me on Instagram and said, "Hey, we want you to see that this little girl wants to be a designer, and she's researched you." And that's mind blowing to me, that a little girl in Ohio who wants to be a designer can find someone who looks like her as her living Black history inspiration. So that's my point in this space, is just to show
also
up.
As women aging, I think it's super important to show our faces. Like, this is what you look like. And I push back on listeners all the time who are like, "Oh, I don't want to show what I look like." I'm like, well, I look at you, that is what you look like. So when you walk around, everyone
we already
sees
know
it,
what you look like.
And just be present. Like, we're in society. Women over 50 are still worth seeing. Like, come on.
Hot. Yeah. No, I don't. You're going to see me. You see I'm at the gym. I'm showing the belly fat struggles and the premenopause struggles. I have built a brand on being myself. I don't overshare. I'm not going to tell you everything word for word about my life. That's none of your business. But I'm going to give you, there's still stuff that's just not your business, but I'm still going to give you a big picture overview, right? If I'm having a bad week with my co-parenting with my son's father, we're going to hear about it. We're not going to hear the details, but I'm going to be like, ugh, this dude, right?
Affecting you.
Yeah.
And if we're having and it's affecting me, and there's a lot going on that's affecting me on that side. And I talk about it all the time. I tell people, I get a lot of people saying, "You're a single mom." And I'm like, I'm not a single mom. Let's be very clear about this narrative. Not all Black women with children are single moms, right? So I'm very clear. I said, I have a co-parent. We don't get along every day, but we get along for the most part, right? So I'm very big on standing up for, we're not together, but we are raising this child together, right?
Right.
And so that's been important for me in the space, to be very clear and just to live my life. When I got divorced, I had a post about it, and it remains the most read post ever on my entire feed, because I had talked about my marriage all the time, and I just felt I could not disappear a whole marriage and not acknowledge it. And I see people do this all the time, by the way, where the spouse is gone and you're like, what's happening?
What happened over there?
I need to start digging and figure this out.
And it's not like we owe people that, but it's also like, well, you did choose to start sharing something, so now the continuity is lost. Like, tell us.
I feel like you owe the basic. And as I said to somebody, I did not get into the reasons for my divorce, but I had to acknowledge it, saying, listen to me. And because people were like wondering, I got very quiet. It was clear something was off. Mm-hmm. I even got like flowers from a designer who was like, something is wrong, right?
Aww.
And I said yes. And so I acknowledged it publicly. Like, listen, I'm going through this. It is it is one of the hardest things in my life, the heartbreak of it all. And I acknowledged that. I said, I am in so much pain right now, and I have to go to work every day crying because I'm running a business. So I'm going to acknowledge that this did not work out. But I am still here, and I'm still trying to work through it and still raise my son and still run a business. And as I said to you, and that's all I said, I never got into who did what, whatever, but I had to acknowledge that. Yeah. And I preach it all the time. You owe it to your followers who you ask to come on a journey with you to not be disingenuous. I'm not telling you to tell your whole business, but acknowledge. I cannot stand Instagram feeds that are just happy, joy all day long. This is not life. Yeah. So you're going to hear that I have a bad day. Last week, I was in tears twice because, I lost my best friend when I was pregnant with my son, and something triggered that, so it was just like, you're going to hear about that and plus see my design work. And so, as I said, when I acknowledged that divorce many years ago, so many people reached out to me like, saying that they had been so ashamed to acknowledge their divorce. I said, ashamed? This is wild to me. But so I'm here to break in the smallest way. Innocently, I didn't know that was going to be the most liked and read post in my entire design career, right? But it wasn't even about design.
But people care about you because they do feel like they know you and they
do
want to share.
They're
love,
very protective. But it was also important for me to tell people it's okay when something doesn't work out. There's life after.
You're gonna get.
Don't be ashamed. What are you being ashamed of? Just life.
Yeah.
It's okay to have things that we try that don't work, to have, whether it's in our personal lives or in our design lives, and say, hey, this was terrible. Like we struggled with this, or I'm struggling with this personally. Like
we struggle with projects all the time. We've been fired. I have fired clients. Like we talk about this. I have talked about this. Like not every project ends well. And so you don't want that to be the case. But we had a project this year. Every year we have a project that, and you don't want it to happen. You pray that you sift things out in the consultation phase, right? And actually I just turned down a project because she was just disrespectful to me. And we haven't even signed the contract yet. And I said, if this is how you're going to talk to me,
I'm out.
I'm out. I'm not even engaging this, right? And it was dicey because we have similar friends. So it was a little, it was tricky, but I just knew I could not work in this. And I can't work like this. And no amount of money was going to make me take this job. And so I think, again, you have to I try to live a life of, again, I am never going to be the designer influencer who tells you, you're not going to see me putting on the makeup. Those posts drive me crazy, right? I have no patience, right? So you're not going to get this daily. I can't understand it. But you're going to see when I'm made up.
The results.
You're not going to do the get ready with me video every day.
No, I'm not. Don't get dressed with me. Who has time? Like I can't understand that life. Like I'm barely holding it together. So
I did like seeing you getting ready for that gala, though. You did kind of do that a few weeks ago.
I did, but it wasn't. It wasn't the which dress. Like
step by step.
It wasn't the step by step. As again, you're gonna get a quickie spin on it, but it's not the step by step. Right. Which dress? How is it fitting? I don't have that kind of patience. But to those who do, big, hats off to them.
It's sometimes just too much and overwhelming. So it's okay to set, like for me, this is my limit. I'm not going to do that. And that's okay.
And let me say this, and that's a great point, Shaun. A lot of designers in this space want to do everything. You cannot. It is physically, mentally impossible to be all the things. And that's when I've talked about this the other day on my feed. I am a designer. I'm a mom. I'm a business owner, all that stuff. I travel a lot. I work out. I eat well. I drink well. I'm not going to be the makeup, the get dressed with me. And now a lot of people think I will because I love fashion, right? And I'm not saying that maybe that happens when if the team changes or there's more people to help me with that stuff. But what I'm saying is not because everyone else is doing it means you need to rush and do it. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You have to learn as a business owner and as anyone who's running any sort of creative firm, you have to preserve the creative mind. Yeah. And so I know who I am, and I don't need to tell you, to show you the lip color. I don't have I don't have the energy for that. Right. And so even though that's the trend, that's what TikTok is telling you to do. Get dressed with me, put on my makeup with me. You don't have to do it. And you can still be successful.
Definitely.
So I'm trying to tell you, you don't have to do everything that's being done. You don't have to make 50 reels a day to be successful. You need to nurture your clients. Yeah. You need to run your business like a business. And then when you have the extra time, you go do your reels and do your stuff to make more money. That's all great. But if you try to do everything at once, it's impossible.
Yeah. We're trying to be too many things to too many people, unfortunately.
It's not going to work. And so the sooner you learn that.
it has to feel true to you too. Like if it feels authentic and this is something you genuinely want to share, those are the things that resonate with the audience anyway. So
exactly.
It has to be
and listen,
real.
like I said, there are people who can do all that stuff. Power to them. I just know I didn't know what I was wearing. I had a casting call this morning. I didn't know what I was wearing until this morning. Like, my makeup girl was like, "What are we wearing?" I don't know. When I wake up in the morning, I'll see how I feel. And that's what I did. Like, I just learned not to sweat the small stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm. And what I love about what you've shared about all of this is you are saying it didn't start like that. I had to hustle for it. I had to grind for that. I had to lose a couple times, make mistakes. And I think that's an arc that we lose a lot of sight of with that perfect world that we see online with designers. It's just, hey, it's not as easy as it looks. It wasn't as fun as it looks. I didn't get paid as much as I wanted. Like, all those things are still happening in the parentheses of our lives. All that stuff is still there. There's just not enough room for all of that in one place. We're so multifaceted and
listen, there's not enough room, and there is that arc that you just mentioned. And do not look at me 14 years in and think that I have it all figured out. I really don't, right? There's still many parts of this business that I'm just like, what the hell is happening over here, right? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Like, there's still so much chaos, even in my own firm, with all this experience, right? Because we're growing, and I'm doing a lot more than I was doing with all the other things I have going on. And so it's very important to me for Instagram folks and TikTok folks to understand. Do not look at Nicole and think, "Oh my God, she's made it. She's got it all figured out." Absolutely not. I meet with my accountant every once a week, and we're always like, that. I mean, that's her job. Like, listen, we need to make more money. Right?
Yes.
And so remember, this is a business. So turn down that project. It's not enough profit in that. Or we got to push this client over here because that's where your money is. And so I have to be checked all the time. And I'm okay with that. But do not look at us, and don't forget that we struggled. We've gotten to a comfortable place at almost 15 years in the game, but we're still tweaking our businesses. We're still scaling. We're still trying to find that spot. Because I give myself 10 more years in this game, max, right?
Oh.
There's things I have to accomplish. Yeah, I don't want to be fighting clients for money, and that's not my goal. Like, I want to, if someone wants to take over this firm one day, absolutely. As I said, I want to be creative director. I want to be coming in just as the creative vision, and somebody is mastering operations, mastering these other things. And we're selling my books, and we're selling my art, and we're selling maybe a fashion line. I don't know.
Maybe it could be all of it.
Maybe New Balance gives me a sneaker deal. Like, I am open to all of that stuff. A makeup line. I don't know. But and real estate ventures and stuff like that. So it is not to be static and just be a designer. That's not. There's a lot of space in this creative world that I want to still explore. But I do have a timeline where for me, after being in it for so long, that I don't want to be sitting here. I don't want to be 80 fighting with clients.
Yes.
No.
But you'll still be out there being creative. Yeah,
I'll be creative and very hot, but I will not be fighting with clients.
I'm going to put your Left Bank art collection in the show notes so the listeners can find it too, because I think you've got some really beautiful pieces in there. And I know we're all for... Whenever I look for designer, when I'm looking at anything, I always start by looking at designer collections, because typically the taste level is better if a designer was involved in the collection usually. And also, I'm very acutely aware of like being able to support the work that other designers are doing helps them pay their bills and helps you secure the next deal and get money from those. So if it's something that we can source from, we should be sourcing from each other, because we can enrich our own selves instead of getting other people outside of our circles more money. We should find a way to help each other succeed.
Oh, I can't thank you enough for that, Shaun. That's so incredible that you said that, because before I had the Left Bank deal, interestingly, I would always spec other designers' collections, right?
Yeah.
Because you went in knowing that they are designers, they must have a better, point of view going in on their products. So thank you for that support. Obviously, Left Bank, that was a big moment for me. And so and Left Bank is a team that you could be with them for a long time. And that's my goal, right? So I'm working on the next collection. And then, I was in there's a great book out, and I'll send that to you too, if you could promote potentially, one of the 50 top Black designers in the country. There's a beautiful coffee table book on that came out from the Black Interior Designers Network the last year, I believe. And so just a beautiful showcase of the talent that's out there and the work. But yeah, supporting that Left Bank is clutch. I appreciate it. and it was a big thing because I sourced Left Bank for years, right? For projects. And I was always looking for things that I would want more. And so when they approached me, it was like, this makes sense. But I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I think that's the least we could do for each other, is to support the work that we're creating, whether it's likes or comments or things like that. But when we can do something that's really tangible, like buying things from each other, that makes a big impact. So
I know, thank you.
You're welcome. And we want to thank you for being so generous with us today. Do you mind telling the hotties who are listening where they can keep up with you if they're not already?
Listen, all the hotties, please follow a fellow hottie at all things Nicole White Designs Interiors on Instagram, Design Diva over at TikTok. And I am not an X anymore. I think I'm there, but I'm not active for reasons. Facebook, we're still there. And then, I'm a big Instagram queen. You'll see me on the stories. And if I'm not in my stories, you cannot believe how followers are worried. Like, are you okay?
Yeah, they're like, where have you been?
Where have you been? It's hilarious. If I take a day off, it's like, are you good? Is Xavier okay? What's happening?
Oh my God.
But I was just, you couldn't go missing without a bunch of people calling the cops.
Listen, I could not go missing. Let me tell you, so many followers are like police drama aficionados, right? All these Law and Order and detectives and true crime podcasts that they love. So they would track me down.
They would
absolutely. Thank you so much for having fun with us today and coming on the show.
I'm going to go buy another phone. I'm going to go buy a second phone.
Oh my God. I hope the listeners get some great takeaways from this. Like separate that life with the phone thing was a game changer. So was moving my home office. So was getting an office, by the way. Let me just end with that. And I was working from home forever. And moving to a space really helped me. Like my house is now just my house. And that's helped me in the biggest way mentally.
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
All right, hotties.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. And until next time,
stay hot, designers.
Thanks for listening to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
For more on what we talked about today, check out the show notes.
Your support helps us grow, so share with your design besties.
And subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Our conversations continue on Instagram.
And be sure to download our monthly resources on our website and our Patreon.